encore. Here we go, Ann. Well, you'll see it when it comes out. In 5. Don't start that until I kind of point at it, though. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Seersucker soup on a hot summer day. Coffee comes back in a nerve-wracking way. The dishes and laundry take the garbage out. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Well, welcome to Capital Region today. We're so happy to have you here today. We've got a really great lineup. But I do want to mention one thing that's coming up, and that's going to be on the 20th. It's a free vaccination for COVID, and that will be sponsored by SICM, which is Schenectady Community Ministries, and that will be from 3 to 7 p.m., and that's going to be at their center at 837 Albany Street, and that's going to be administered by the Schenectady County Public Health. I just wanted to get that out before I tell you who's coming up on the show today. We're going to be talking about anti-racism and this wonderful program that is being held through Proctor's, and we'll find out more about that from Denise Mcgraw. Then we're going to be going over to the Albany Civic Theater, and we're going to find out what they're doing, whether they're doing some productions or just getting the place fixed up really snazzy. So we'll find out about that. And then Richard Lovrich is on. He's an author, and he's written a book with a title called Have a Very Bad Day. So we can't even imagine where he's going with that, but we'll find out. He's going to read from the book as well. And then we're going to be talking about the work program, the Women's Employment and Resource Center. We'll find out what they're doing, and they're having an event coming up, and we certainly want to support what they're doing. And Elizabeth Miller-Guthier is the director there. She's on the show. And then Max Sudduth returns here. He's been on the show way back when, but now he's here to talk about the Rotary and what they're doing in Schenectady as well. So we've got a great lineup for the show, and we're going to start right out with our first guest, and we have Denise Mcgraw, and she's been the founder of the Anti-Racism, and you've got a long title.
A very long title.
Okay, let's tell everybody what the title is.
The Capital Region Anti-Racism Training Initiative.
And what's the allyship?
An Allyship Institute.
Okay.
And what we have done, I think, about a year ago now, the pandemic was just starting, and we saw what was happening throughout the country. And like so many other organizations, the Junior League of Schenectady, who has been
And you're active in that as well.
I'm the president of the Junior League of Schenectady again this year, and we've been active for almost 100 years now in looking at need, trying to address that need, and starting programs that really could impact locally and nationally. The George Floyd murder, I think, hit all of us in different ways.
Yep.
And whatever that way may very well been, but we took on a role of facilitator and educator. And we found partners, and people were stepping up. Philip Morris and Proctor's were one of the first people to say, yes, sign me up, of course. And then we've been working with some mental health counselors and advisors in the behavioral health arena, and really taking that aspect of all of this and working with the Schenectady County Public Library, and really just bringing together a team of people who could get as much information and material and educational opportunities out for folks. And that's really what we did. We started it about a year ago. It's still going strong.
Yep.
And
how do people get involved with it? Because that's one of the things, it's nice to have these, but how do people get involved?
Sure. So there's a number of ways, and we found that one of the biggest ways for people is if they could go at their own pace. There's a lot of material. People are looking for things, but they just don't know quite what it means. I think a lot of people woke up a year or so ago and said, I'm not a racist, but I don't know what else I'm missing about all of this. And that's what we've tried to bridge that gap for folks. So they can go online, the Proctor's website. We have a sub-page, a landing page, they call it now, Ann, just like the show does. And Capital Region Anti-Racism Training Initiative. And we have all the materials and everything that we have done to date. In addition to that, we're very active on social media. We started just as one of those things. You have to have a Facebook page now, or you have to have Instagram and all of these things. And so we launched our Facebook page, and it really became a forum. people shared information, shared opportunities, whether it was events, whether it was maybe you were doing something on the topic and getting that out there. In addition to, some people are just saying, I need help, I don't understand. Am I, being very candid with one another. So it's a group.
It's a grassroots group, really.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like a governmental thing or
No.
something like that.
No.
And every once in a while you see where, they have these training sessions at work and things like that. And then some say, well, they don't have to have them anymore. Didn't
No.
that come out under one of the administration,
Yeah,
the last
so-
administration?
What we tried to do, and we started with one event where we just did a book reading of how to be an anti-racist. That launched into, the magic of getting to work with Proctors and Philip Morris. We actually brought virtually the author of Ibram Kendi, of the book, and he did an hour and a half long program. We had about 20,000 people view it. I think that was a success by any measure.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are kind of, Ann Perillo ratings. Those are not something the Junior League gets every day, but that, around the same time, the Junior League internationally, which I've been on that board in the past, they started a program, a 21-day program, where you can do prompts each day, do some readings. I did that. I was chosen nationally to do that. It taught me so much that I thought I wanted to bring that to the Capital Region. And so we did that over last summer. It was 21 days of websites and readings and maybe a podcast.
Sources, what you're doing,
Exactly.
just giving them sources.
Exactly, and every day, maybe take a little action. But we took one of these national programs and we made it for the Capital Region. How about today you take take CDTA to work and find out that maybe you have to do 2 transfers, and it's not that easy anymore.
Until you walk in the shoes.
Exactly.
You don't realize what difficulties, and it's easy for someone who has a car and, has the tools that they
Right.
need, and then they find out that if they had to do it to take public transportation, get a sitter, all the things that
All
you
the
have to
things it takes
negotiate
to
for a
just-
minimum wage job.
Right, a job interview, a doctor's appointment, right? So we tried to make it Capital Region specific. We were really one of the only programs, these 21-day things go on all over the country. We were really one of the first and only who have done it specific for their community.
That's really great.
The
yeah.
founder, the creator of the program came and jumped on a Zoom with our participants, and we had about 5,000 participants to kind of give a pep talk and to talk and recognize us nationally. And then we took it to the next where we had 12 training programs, and that's where the Allyship Institute came in. We're working with a professor, Dr. Hayward Horton
Yeah.
from SUNY
Yeah,
Albany.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
you know him
Yes,
well.
a very good friend of mine.
And he's the dean, he's the director of the Allyship
Yeah.
Institute. And, programs that can help behavioral health, raising an anti-racist child, health disparities and equity and all of those issues that we're reading about in the paper, but just helping explain the terminology,
Yeah.
what people mean when they're talking about these things. And we went through that, and it was gangbusters. And, it was really one of those things that benefited from the moment. People could get on a Zoom and feel
And then
like
it's recorded, so you can
Exactly.
you can go back and look at it again. I think your initiative has been well received. There's no question about
Thank
that.
you.
And the idea that when you look at that and you say, well, I don't think I'm a racist, and then you start thinking, well, have I ever done anything? And it's like, and I find myself catching somebody saying something that I did not realize.
a year ago, 5 years ago, it might not have sounded as awkward to you that it sounds
And
now.
now it's
Yeah.
I'm catching, and I hate the fact that, well, I don't want to be politically correct. Well, that's ridiculous, because it has to do with hurting people.
Of course, it has to do with equity, and it has to do with inclusion.
Yeah.
And it has to do with just, making all boats float.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have to hold one group or person or anyone down in order to lift up everyone.
Well, there was a book written called The Nature of Prejudice, and I love that book, and that was from the 50s or 60s or
Yep.
something like that, and it really says that in order to be prejudiced, you have to put somebody else down,
Exactly.
and to elevate yourself. And if you're in that position, it's a sad commentary.
It really is, and I think the pandemic showed us.
Yeah.
If we're not in this together, if we're not working together, and whatever it may very well be, overcoming public health crisis,
Yeah.
making sure our kids get educated, and ensuring that everybody has a good paying job and a good quality of life,
Yeah.
then we're losing
It
out.
doesn't take anything away from you.
It doesn't,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
the thing, is it doesn't take, but listen, Denise,
There we
thank
go.
you so much for being on the show and for starting this initiative. And it's the Capital District.
Capital Region Anti-Racism Training Initiative, and we have a weekly show on this very network, Community Conversations.
Good, great. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And I'm going to have to switch topics, and we're going to talk about theater next. And right with me, I have Katie Weinberg. Katie, it's so good to have you on the show to talk about theater. And I know the Albany Civic Theater has certainly come up with the same crisis in a way. I call it a crisis because here we're rolling with great theater and everything, and all of a sudden, bam, you're shut down.
Yep.
Tell me how you're handling it.
Well, like every theater in the Capital District, it was, kind of a shock and not a shock, but it sort of took us by surprise. And because we were in rehearsals for a show and we had the set half built and we had to immediately stop and
Everybody
left
did. It was like, bam, you were done.
Yeah. So, and it was hazy for a while what we were going to do because we kept postponing, and then we're just like, we got to cancel like everybody else did.
Well, everybody thought maybe, June we'll be able to do it, or maybe August, and then we find out, here we are a year later, and we're still struggling with this.
It's been very difficult, but so in the meantime, so since COVID, we've done a few Zoom shows. We actually just had one a couple months ago with the local playwright Dan Smerlock. He wrote this great play called Special Needs, and it's actually on our Facebook page. It was just a 4-person Zoom show.
Oh,
The
great,
original
and so
work.
anybody can go look at that. yeah.
Anybody, and it was wonderful, was very well received. And we're hoping, cross our fingers, to have a live on-stage performance in the fall.
Okay, good. You sent some photos, so if they could bring the photos up and tell us what they're doing there. You really did your stage over again, and you,
Yes.
I mean, you really did it over.
Yes, we had a wonderful man named Dale Clark. He runs a company called Decks by Dale. He's a good friend of mine and my husband, Adam Coons. And we hired him to completely rebuild our stage. And if you've ever been on the stage at Albany Civic, it creaks and it's a little
Yeah, see,
wobbly.
look at that.
So
yeah.
there it is, finished and painted, which is extremely exciting. We haven't had anything new like on our stage floor for over a decade at least. So yes, that's very exciting. And we also have a brand new logo, which we have been wanting to do
And that's
for a
what we
while.
have up there,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So our building is an old firehouse from 50, 60 years ago. So a friend of the theater, John Mcgraw, designed the logo for us. And it's sort of like a firehouse logo, but it kind of also looks like a lighting fixture that we have to light our stage. So we sort of incorporated those two things, and it's there.
Why not? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have any idea of, this is a terrible question, because, I mean, it's coming out of here. Where are we going? Have you started any rehearsals, or had you thought about anything, maybe doing something outside, or what are your thoughts?
Well, it's, we're in a good position where, we haven't been struggling. We don't have a lot of, we don't have rent to pay for our building. Luckily, it's owned by the city. So, we have just our regular, monthly utility, things like that to pay. But we've been lucky that we've had this time to sort of figure out what we're going to do. So there's committees to figure out what we need to do in terms of COVID, in terms of temperature checks, in terms of are people going to be masked and vaccinated in our audience, on our stage, what's going to happen. So we're sort of still in that planning. Unfortunately, the season we had set up and had directors for and everything is a moot point now. So we're going to start deciding on shows ourselves and asking directors to do it. They would be small shows, but maybe 3-4 person shows. And only, 2 weekends, and have a minimal amount of volunteers, maybe just board members like ushering, things like that. Doing ticketing online, hopefully. We have a brand new website that we're building, so hopefully it'll make that a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time, I guess it's a time of not only reflection, but to rebrand to
Yes.
everything. I mean, and so people are now thinking in terms of how do we do things like with this show. I mean, we changed it to Capital Region Today because we really are covering the entire Capital Region. We're not just stuck here in one area.
Yes.
And we have always been that way, but never really reflected it in our name. And I think this is where you're going with, changing the logo,
Yes.
making things a little bit more receptive to the community.
And it's actually been a sort of a blessing that we've had the time.
Yeah.
Because when we're not just go, 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 show, we've had the time to be like, okay, are there upgrades to the theater we want to do? Yes, let's redo the stage. Let's do a new logo. Let's, launch a brand new website, which we're in the process of building.
And who does your website? Do you have a local board member, or is this in-house or out-house?
in-house,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't want to say out-house, but it's, you know what I mean,
Yes.
out of whatever.
The board is sort of building it together.
Yeah.
We're all sort of contributing to it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely still a work in progress, but we are very excited to launch that. It's going to be great. And we're actually going to, join the other theaters in the Capital District, and you can actually buy your tickets online, hopefully. on
Yeah,
our
I know,
website.
it's really nice. I think some of them have gone through Proctor's, that they've done that, and it seemed to be working quite well. But there's other places, and I don't mean
Yes.
just that. It's just that I know that sometimes you have to kind of put your, kind of get together and work together.
Yes.
Because in doing so, it's better for everybody.
And we're absolutely looking to SLOC and Schenectady Civic and Curtain Call and all sorts of the other local theaters to get guidance, because,
Yeah.
SLOC, I know, has already announced shows and dates for their shows. We're not quite there yet, but we're certainly looking to other theaters for guidance on their guidelines and things like that.
Yeah, and I know that the Civic, Schenectady Civic has done some Zoom productions, and those are good. They certainly aren't live theater. I mean, they're live, I guess, Zoomy live, I don't know how you...
Zoomy Live, I like that.
Zoomy live. But the fact is, when you have an audience and you hear the people respond to your lines and respond to whatever's going on in the thing,
Yes.
it really makes it a lot easier for the actors.
Oh, my gosh.
And for the audience as well, to know that you're not alone thinking it's funny, or something, or the, actor says, did I deliver that right?
Right.
Because nobody's laughing or something like that.
Exactly.
So, now, are you thinking, do you do any education with youth groups or anything?
We have in the past. We actually did sort of a contest with the Albany High. It was called Voice Your View. We did it back in December. We sort of, we asked high schoolers to sort of voice their view about how they felt about 2020 with all the things that was going on with the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and things like that. So we held a contest, and
That's a great idea.
And 5 students, they submitted it. It could be a monologue, it could be a skit, it could be something, sort of contained. And 5 students won the contest, and their pieces were on our YouTube channel, and they each got a $50 prize from Albany Civic.
Nice.
And it was a nice little thing we did for the
Yeah,
for the high
and
schoolers.
you're engaging them in theater in a way.
Yes.
Even though they're reading their own monologue, it's still theater because they've got to read it and they've got to perform it. Because I think my feeling is that you have to start kids out with theater early. Because, if you're 30 and you've gone to the theater for the first time, it's like you've lost something along the way.
Yeah.
There's nothing to reflect on or anything like that. So I like the idea of starting your kids early. And I think most schools do have a theater program, or they have an annual play or an annual musical. Not everybody can get involved in that, but there's people that have to be behind the stage as well.
Oh, yes. And I think if there are students who want to get involved in theater, like at their school, there are ways to get involved. You might not be on stage, but there's always ways to get involved behind the scenes, for sure.
Yeah. So I know that, how big is your board, by the way?
15 members.
Oh, you have a good-sized board then, that working together. And of course, they're all shoulder to shoulder through this pandemic.
Oh, yes. Having to switch to Zoom board meetings every month was
I've
a
been
little
there,
different.
yeah. I've been to those. It's
yeah.
you feel as though you're in a seance. Are you there? Are you there?
Exactly. Can
Did
you
you
hear
come
me?
in?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But we've adapted and we go to the theater when we have to, and if there's, things to do there, like, my husband, Adam Coons, is a technical director.
Yeah,
He
he's
had to
a
go there
great guy.
to
Yeah.
paint the stage with a couple other board members, and, you do what you got to do.
Well, let's hope that you're up and running soon so that you have live theater over on 2nd Avenue, isn't
Yep.
it? 2nd Avenue over in Albany.
Yes.
And 2:30.
2:35. And I am impressed. Yes.
I am impressed with myself. I
2:35
can't believe
second half.
that came out of my mouth.
I love it. Yes. 2:35 second
I
half
don't
in
have
Albany.
anything in front of me that has anything with that. I don't, where did it come from? Oh, the
amazing.
pandemic must have done something to me.
amazing.
Maybe
amazing.
my Rolodex is working a little bit better now. But isn't that something? I can't believe that came out. But I've had you on so many times that it must have been imprinted in my
Yes,
brain.
yes.
I want to wish you all well, and please say hi to Adam for
I
me.
will.
You guys are really great, and you've worked so hard to make things happen. And we know that you're going to be on that new stage
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
And we'll be there to see you.
Thank you so much,
Good.
Ann.
Thanks
you.
for coming, Katie. Yeah, always good to see you. We're going to switch gears right now and go over to Richard Lovrich, who must have spent most of the pandemic working on his book.
Hello, Ann. How are you?
It's good to see you, Richard. Yeah, and tell me, where did you get the title for that book?
You know-
Because the book is called Have a Very Bad Day, and we actually have a slide of that. But anyway,
I had been posting, this
I
started
know
as
you've
an-
been doing that for ages.
Right, it started as an art project years
Yeah.
ago, and I said, I'm going to write 1,000 short stories, which is a ridiculous thing to do. And I did. I overshot that mark, actually. And then I couldn't
How many
look-
are in here?
In the book, there are just about 300, just a few shy
You've
of
got to have a
300.
new edition then.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wrote the 1,000, and then I couldn't look at it for a little while, came back to it, put together a collection of about 400 or so, and then couldn't look at it again. That was a big project. And the pandemic helped in that regard. It did give me the time and space. And I had been performing the stories, so they went from today's very short story online to the regrettable lagniappe, I can explain that later, to, at performances, which didn't really work as a book title. And I don't know, I think this just, it was
Well,
really a
it-
choice of one. It popped into my head and I realized it was correct.
When we talk about short stories, I'm just going to open this up. I don't know if you can see it, but this is how short they are. If you can get a shot of me on there. That's how short they are. They're just little, tiny little snippets that you
My
can
goal
read.
was a sentence, and you can't
Oh,
always
well,
do
You've
that.
had a couple sentences.
That would be, yes, that would be a different project.
Unless it's John Kenneth
Some of
Galbraith
them are-
who writes
some of them are
sentences that are this
painfully-
long.
Right, exactly. Some of them are painfully long. They're like more than a page, so
Yeah.
I apologize. So you have to be very patient to read this book. You have
Yeah,
to be able to
and
tolerate that.
they're kind of dark.
It's a terrific bathroom book.
Oh, that's good to know.
I aspire to bathrooms.
Bathroom book,
Yeah.
and it is dark.
Oh,
so.
it's
The
perfect.
cover is dark, so. Would you like to, can you read?
And they are dark, yes.
Yeah, can you read one or two
Well, of
from us?
course.
Yeah.
You name it. 1 minute, 2 minute?
Yeah,
three-
go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead, we got time.
Listen closely. Julius, a leading expert in the field of nanoacoustics, had labored for 5 years to perfect what in effect was the world's smallest and most sensitive microphone. And today, for the very first time, he would focus it upon a petri dish with the hope of listening in on bacteria. What he heard was what every E. coli in town seemed to know already, that his wife Elaine was carrying on an affair with his research assistant, Otis.
That's wonderful.
So you get it. They
No,
are
I
dark.
think, no, these are just little short, little whimsical.
And I'm so glad that I coordinated with having the amazing Denise on the show today, because there's, you could certainly be drawn to the book by Schadenfreude, because you want to see people having a bad time, and believe me, you will not be disappointed.
Right, right.
But in 295 or so stories, you will find yourself. So you start with Schadenfreude, you end up meeting yourself around the corner. because-
Well, it's funny because I have read these, and some of them I have to read a second time, because I think, is there another meaning in here that I'm missing, something like that?
Well, I'm so glad I'm on your show today as well, because of course, some of the stories have to do with science.
Yeah, I love
And
science.
it's one of my favorite topics to write about, but of course, it might be another small book at a different time.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it down to a roar, but there's particle physics in there.
Yeah,
and-
you got another story for us?
Sure,
Sure,
absolutely.
yeah, right on.
Good shot. Cousin Phil, one of a pair of identical twins, nonetheless recognized himself with unerring accuracy in the childhood photos his Aunt Erica unearthed after Christmas dinner. His brother Earl was the one who was rarely photographed without an air gun, while Phil was the kid with the patch where his left eye used to be.
Okay, where do you...
I know I'm not supposed to
No,
laugh
no,
at my own
no,
story.
well, I mean, I love these, but the point is, what kind of a mind creates this?
Now you're talking about my second book. My second book is about my childhood in the Bronx, and I think,
You grew up in the Bronx?
yes, I'm
Okay.
first generation American. My parents were born in a foreign country, and I grew up
And
with
you
this-
went back there.
I did, actually. That's another story.
That
right?
was, yeah, you were on to talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was an
In
amazing
Cro-
story.
Well, what is now Croatia.
Yeah.
And so I grew up around, there was a great deal of mystery and mysticism around the kind of Catholicism that afforded. And here I was in the Bronx, in this Irish neighborhood. So there was this clash and many interesting cultural things. And I believe it was that period, I think, that seeded the input for a lot of this strangeness.
Have you always written, Richard?
Here and there, I wrote more.
Because, I mean, you've been in media, worked for the Times Union, I believe, yeah. So it's sort of like in your blood, but,
Well, because I'm an artist, of course, I was the art director of the Times Union.
Right, right.
I did a few articles, actually, on some ethnic foods and a few other things. But if you saw my reading, it was headlines. I wrote headlines occasionally. And I won a National Headline Award at the TU.
you mean they give an award for
Oh,
headlines?
yeah, sure, absolutely.
What was the headline that you, oh, you forgot. Sorry.
No, it was about food at sports parks, and it was Shea,
Okay,
like
for
the
Shea
restaurant.
Stews,
Shea
Yeah.
Stadiums.
yeah. Oh, okay, that was
So it was
good,
about
good
eating
plan.
it, yeah.
That's getting into words.
And I will not call out the person, but one of the editors sent it back to me corrected.
Said
and
you
put
see it was spelled wrong.
Shea Arena. And I was like, let's talk.
Didn't get it, didn't
Let's
get it,
talk.
didn't get it.
So we corrected it back, and the award came.
Yeah, so you've kind of always written, and another, I should like to address the other thing that you've been dealing with is your Alpha
Yes.
one. And I
Yes.
think we could, because you have been working on that, trying to raise the awareness.
It's part of everyone's conversation here today about the 2020 and 2021-ness of everything, right? So
Right.
we're all on Zoom. And so our conference had to go, the conference for the Alpha 1 is genetic COPD. So it's a degenerative inherited lung disorder, which can also affect the liver. Okay?
Can I just thank
Yeah.
you too, because you suggested that I go to a specific site to have my DNA
Yes,
done.
yes.
And I did get the results on the Alpha 1,
And what did
which
it say?
happened to be negative.
Yes.
But it was really, you were the one that got me to do that. And so
23andMe
thank you.
has brought us a lot of new folks, and it's not scary. It simply says that you have a predilection. They could probably tell you more,
Yeah.
but they don't. And we applaud their decision. in
Well,
that-
and it has to do
in
with
that
the
way.
FDA as well. I
Yeah,
mean, they
yeah, yeah.
control
It's
that
all
as well.
HIPAA, right?
Yeah.
But of course, we had our conference, and it was really a dream come true. So instead of 750 people, which was always about half of the local people, whether it was San Francisco or Chicago or wherever we were, Miami or Orlando. So instead of half of the audience being local and half of the audience being this traveling set of like crazy nation-hopping clowns like myself who will go anywhere to help, instead of 750 people, we had nearly 2,000 people. So, of course, it's an illness, and it's degenerative, so many people cannot travel. Many people are just not well-disposed towards traveling or can't afford to. So it was a blessing, and our future models will incorporate a hybrid.
Yeah,
Our next conference is next week.
And who do you have? Anybody good coming up on there?
I'm telling you. So normally I do host some segments, and I speak to doctors, which I'm very honored to do.
Yeah.
But this time I'll be speaking to none other than Sally Fields, whose cousin has my
Struthers.
disorder. Sally Struthers, thank you so much.
That's right,
I
no,
got the
because
wrong
I
person.
saw it posted on Facebook.
Yeah, Sally Struthers, and she's awesome.
But Sally Fields is nice too, but
Sally Struthers
she
is
just isn't the
awesome.
one.
We've spoken to her from home, and she says she's not a tech person, but she nailed everything, and she says she's rusty, but she really wasn't.
And she's
before.
associated with someone who has
Her
the Alpha 1.
cousin has Alpha 1.
Yeah.
And they've lost family members.
Yeah.
So she is, like many people, even when it's in your family, she's only marginally aware in a way, but, so part of this has been an education program for her, but she jumped in with both feet, and she's
So-
been amazing.
So do people, I mean, how would you know if you had it? I mean, is this something that you might be, like, I have one of those conditions that
Yes.
nobody can ever identify, and you keep going from this doctor, and then they find out, oh, wait, you have that.
Like your disorder, most people with Alpha 1 see an
It's
average of...
sarcoidosis, by the way.
Sarcoidosis. Most people see an average of 5 physicians.
Yeah, that's the same thing, yeah.
I knocked that one out of the park because I had a comorbidity, which makes things very confusing. I had a comorbidity of asthma since birth. So I had like infantile.
So they were
asthma.
continually looking at that.
And having the diagnosis of asthma actually masked
It masked it, yeah.
the diagnosis of anything else that I might
And
have.
that's what happens.
And
That's what happens, yeah.
So there are many, many reasons, and having Denise here just, it brings tears to my eyes, because if you're African American, in which this disorder is more rare, then many doctors will simply never test you for it.
Yeah.
But there are, believe it or not, quite a few African Americans that have alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency.
Yeah.
And it's genetic, so as we move along and intermarry and intermate, there'll be even more.
Yeah,
So
see,
it's
and
just yet one more
At least
reason.
they're doing research to
doing
discover what
research.
that might be.
Genetics, so, you
Yeah.
are a science person.
Yeah.
I'd love to get you a guest one day to talk about that, but everything, 13 years ago I was diagnosed, and there was a mix of different types of, like, paths to a cure. Now it's pretty much 90% genetic,
Yeah.
and there are different pathways,
They're,
which you would
they're
understand.
looking at, I know with mine,
Yeah.
there's a genetic portion, but it has to be triggered by a bacteria
Wow.
before, the two have to hit together, which I found rather interesting. I was not aware of
It's
that.
CRISPR and all those words that you hear. And what everybody is hoping, of course, is that when you knock over that first domino, let's say the first domino is alpha-1, then other things, many, many other
Yeah, it
disorders
all-
will also
Yeah, it all
fall.
shows.
So there's a big race. It's very exciting. Books will be written about this time. It's a very exciting time in
And maybe you'll
medical
write one
history.
of those books, who knows?
Well, the great awakening will be that, sure, but if everyone is diagnosed, how, culturally, economically, what model is there to pay to treat all of these people?
Exactly.
So it's going to be a wake-up call for everyone soon.
So that's another book, but how did they
That's
get a
another
hold
book.
of this book?
They get a hold of this book super easily. First of all, I love independent.
You've got a book signing coming up.
Yeah, I love independent bookshops. So this very Saturday, I'll be at the Open Door at 2 o'clock, I think, in the afternoon.
I
You
think,
can check
well,
my
it was up there, I put it up on the
Facebook.
screen.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
2 or 2:30.
It's-
And I just love, when I travel
Yeah,
anywhere.
from 1 to, I'm trying to read that, but I can't, 1 to.
Oh, 1 to 2:30. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. But we love the Open Door. I printed with a local bookshop. I had many great advisors, including Paul Grondel, who
Oh,
said,
yeah,
like,
he's-
"Oh, you're
he's a great
You're
guest.
too old to look for a publisher."
He's a
Just, he
good
said,
guest.
self-publish and get
Yeah,
it done.
yeah.
So we actually published through the Troy Bookmakers,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
they're
associated with
really
the
a great.
wonderful
yeah.
people and obviously really pretty job.
Well, it's a very good, and I love the idea
Yeah.
that if you buy the book, and you might get one of these. if
While
they
supplies last,
yeah.
that's right.
Which is really a nice bookmark, it's really solid.
I did
so.
not know that my cottage industry would be sitting at night making bookmarks. but
Yeah, who knows, who
there you go.
knows. But
And
anyway.
I'm working on my next book. so.
Okay, good. Richard, it's been a delight to have you on
Thank
the
you very
show. I
much.
know we've covered a lot of topics,
Thank
but
you.
that's what happens when
That's what we
friends get
do.
together, right?
Yes.
Good. We're going to take, just a switch over to our next guest, who is, of course, with the Women's Employment and Resource Center, which is a great organization to help women get back into the workforce, right? How are you managing that with the COVID?
And we are busier than ever.
Really?
And I first want to thank you for having us on your show, and I'm just so glad that you're starting to retape again.
Yeah,
It's
we're
it's
working.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
and I love your new name, so
Yeah.
that's great as well. Through the pandemic, we have kept our doors open the entire time. So we've been helping, although we had to pivot our services to remote, we've been helping people via phone and email and
Zoom?
And Zoom.
Everybody's doing Zoom. Who ever heard of Zoom? And here we are, it's like a word that we use every day.
Yes, yeah. And almost all of our training was done in person, and so we had to switch that up. So we now have a computer online subscription, so our women can get the training online. We also.
How do they, I mean, because part of it is that you teach them computer programs, or how do they do that? Well, if they're online, they have a computer, I guess. That's one of the things, but what if you don't?
And actually, so we found that out through the pandemic. So we were helping many women, but we realized that not only were the one-stops closed, but the libraries and
Yeah.
access to a computer was closed, as well as our physical space was closed. So in the fall, board member Hope DeRosa and we had our little brainstorming and said, you know what, let's come up with a computer loaner program. So we now have that available for women who need access to a computer. So
Oh,
we have
wonderful.
a new committee, we have several committees, many volunteers. So we have 6 staff at work We have 12 board members and 50 volunteers that really help women transition back into the workplace. Because the pandemic happened, the women still needed to upgrade their skills and
That's
needed
right.
to find employment.
Yeah. So you're having an event coming up, and part of that, which I thought was really nice, is that you have a clothing collection at 2 locations as well.
Yes.
And believe that one is in Albany and one is in Clifton Park. Why is there a need for clothing?
So we work with women who are in transition. They've lost their source of support due to separation, divorce, widowed, single moms, women who leave the workforce to take care of an elderly parent and then needs to go
And they have
back
to
into the workplace.
re-enter, which is a little bit different if it's been 20 years and
Absolutely.
everything has changed.
Yes, yes, as well as our physical being. So, you know, I was very different 15 years ago. I was wearing different clothes, and so we need to help them to upgrade their personal appearance as well as build their confidence. So if they are trying to figure out how to find a job, we want to make sure that they have the right outfit in the closet so that when they go for that interview, they can just focus on articulating their skills and really being a positive impact, making a positive impact on that employer.
You probably don't run into this with the group that you're dealing with, but just to address people going in for job interviews, and I know someone who worked in human resources, and she told me, you have no idea how people show up for interviews.
We do teach them that, and actually we've done the training via Zoom. So we make sure that they know that the background is important, that, you know, that if they have young children, that they get a backup, that
the
they
dog.
get a sitter. Yes, so that when they are doing that phone interview or the Zoom interview, that they are showing that they can go to work and be an effective employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's, I think maybe it's I would think that women who have been out of the workforce kind of have a clue at what they need to do because they've lived a longer life, but it's the younger people that sometimes go in with their tank tops and, you know, tats and all that. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with those, but not for a job interview.
Our women have a wonderful work ethic, and we help them to transfer those skills to something that they did 5, 10, 15 years ago to now a marketable skill that they can go out to an employer and say, these are all the things that I can do. I might have done them 10 years ago, but I can still do them now.
Right.
And so Great Finds is the women's thrift shop that we are doing the clothing
Where's that
drive
located?
for. They are at the corner of Henry Johnson and Washington Avenue
Okay.
Extension in Albany.
Okay.
They give our women free vouchers to go and shop for professional clothing, and then they also help them. They're like their personal assistant to let them know
That doesn't look
looks
quite
good.
right for a job
Right.
interview, and yeah,
Yes.
maybe a scarf would work better here or something, because they're kind of working with them then.
And
too.
Great Finds also works with Catholic Charities and Equinox. They're part of Equinox, and basically they'll help any woman that walks in there that's in need of clothing.
How do you
So-
get your money? How do you get your funding?
So our funding is, we're still partially funded through the New York State budget. The Department of Labor is our administrator, so we're very thankful for that.
Because they want to get people back into paying taxes, right?
That's right, and that's what we do. For
Yeah.
every dollar that we invest in our women, $14 goes back into the economy.
Yeah.
But that only covers about half of our budget. So the other half comes from these fundraisers that we hold, community support, and then community grants. And we have a very generous and very endearing community who knows that we need to keep our doors open, and they've helped us through this pandemic.
And it'll be nice when you can get back to your galas where you have your vendors there selling all those really great clothing and other items too, but that'll be a while, I guess.
And this year, well, last year we had to, because the pandemic, we shut our doors on March 18th, and then we had our June event. So we were one of the first organizations to do a live virtual event. It brought in just about the same amount of money.
Really?
We
I
were
would not
so
have expected
thrilled.
that.
We had a lot of support, and this year we're doing it again, and we're switching it up a little bit. We're bringing in 9 coaches so that we can go into breakout sessions and really help the audience to, our coaches are gonna talk to them about how they can really maximize their success in 2021, and also maybe talk about the changes that the pandemic has had. in the workplace.
It certainly has made, I mean, there's the good and the bad with the pandemic. I mean, we know the bad, you know, people are out of work and things like that. But when I talk to some of my grandkids and kids, we talk about how's that changed, and they said, well, in a way, I've spent more time with my kids, and I don't have to travel to get to work, and I can work online, and they find that they work harder at home than they did in the office, because they remember at 10 o'clock at night they wanted to do something, and they get up and do it there, you know, so they're constantly have their job at their place, so. It has changed everything.
It has, and we have found that we've been able to reach a larger audience
Yes.
of women. So if somebody couldn't travel to our Albany Center for training, maybe she lives in Saratoga or out in Columbia County, she can now access our training via Zoom, which is wonderful. And we're also able to have more volunteers help us with our different projects and programming. Because they don't have to take that time to travel to our center.
Yeah.
So
and
we
you have a further reach, actually.
Right.
So you're looking for clothing, and that clothing will be used for women. Then this shouldn't be your tank tops and jeans or
Right.
something. You're
Yeah.
looking at clothing that is more professional.
Clothing, handbags, accessories, jewelry, anything that will really help women to build their self-esteem as they're going back into the workplace. And we're
Okay.
having the clothing drive from 12 to 4 is at Grapevines. Susan Taylor is the manager. She is asking for appointments.
Okay.
Because they still can only have a certain number of people in their
Right.
space. And then Willie Miranda, he's been a huge volunteer and supporter of work. And we will be at his location,
In
Miranda
Clifton
Real
Park?
Estate,
Yes.
yes. And that will be from 12 to 5.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So people can drop, well, are they going to drop it off, or do they have to wait while they go through everything, or what?
No, they just drop off the
Okay.
clothing, and then we're actually going to take the truck after the event. The event is 5 to 6 on June 8th, and then after the event, we're going to be bringing the truck down to Grapevines and unloading it so
Great,
that they
great.
can sort it for our women.
Elizabeth, it's so good to see you, and
Thank you,
to
Ann.
catch up on what you're doing to help women in those re-entering the workforce, and know that they have somebody that's got their back.
We do.
Yeah, and
Thank
you do.
Ann.
Thanks so much for being here. We're going to take just a switch right over to the next hot seat, and the hot seat is Max Sedit. Max been on the show before when you were the president of My Side, right?
Yes, that's been a while.
That's been a long time ago, but right now you are still keeping busy in your retirement.
That's true. That's
So
true.
you're with Rotary now.
Yeah, I'm the president this year of the Schenectady Rotary.
I can't imagine. You do so much good work, and I'd like to know what do you have coming up, because I know you have something at Frog Alley coming up.
Yes, we have a trivia night at Frog Alley, and because of the pandemic, you have a choice of doing this in person or virtually.
Oh, you can do it virtually.
You can do it virtually. The Rotary has been in Schenectady for 103 years.
Yeah, I know. It's been around a long time.
And, you know, it's a worldwide organization, and we're dedicated to community service, and we raise money partially to give scholarships to high school students in Schenectady County. We do other things.
Don't you do anything outside the country or sometimes?
We do. We do lots of.
Because I thought that there were some things that you did outside. You would adopt a project.
Well, we have lots of projects, actually. We have a project in Haiti to improve water quality.
Yeah, the water issue.
We also work with the Rotary's International Polio Plus to eradicate polio.
We're still fighting polio. my
Yeah,
goodness.
we're still working on it. There's some, you know, got to get those polio shots in faraway places.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, because I think we've pretty much eradicated it through vaccinations. And
Right,
for the oral, they called it what? Sunday oral Sabin. Sundays, they called it, where they gave you that little
Yes.
talk.
So, at any rate, they're doing this on June the 10th at Frog Alley. Starts at 6 p.m. Tickets are $30 for a single player, but you can register a team of 4 for $100.
So tell me,
There are
well, wait,
prizes,
what
cash
kind
prizes, and
what
other
kind of
prizes.
trivia?
Just trivia.
Just trivia, could be
Yeah,
anything.
the trivia guy of New York, trivia guy in New York, we've worked with him before.
Oh,
We did an
okay.
online trivia, a Zoom trivia last year, and he's really good, and it was lots of fun. And and in addition to cash prizes, we have some other prizes that we'll announce a little bit later, but that include, maybe a free night at a local hotel, whatever.
That's cool.
So we're working on that, but I think it's a really good time. We do fundraisers throughout the year. We also right now have a spring. And
Okay, I
flower-
think we have they've got one, there it is, they're gonna bring that right up there. Okay,
Okay.
so let's talk about what you've done there, because I don't, they got the clock there, you
Yeah,
got.
with the Rotary is put.
Let's
as-
start with the one on the left.
Okay, well, we do a mum sale in the fall.
Okay,
We also do a wreath sale in the holidays, and we do a spring flower sale right now, which will run through May the 22nd.
now
And
how do you
get
do a
flowers
spring
or
flower
herbs.
sale?
We sell all this
You have a
online.
little cart and go around with
No,
it?
we sell all this online.
Oh, online?
You can go to our website, SchenectadyRotary.org, Schenectady Rotary, one word, .org,
Yeah.
and look at the fundraisers, and you can pre-order your stuff online and come to pick it up, and we'll put it in your car for you.
Oh, really?
So
And
this
where do you
is-
get your plants from?
Well, we work with the Schenectady ARC.
Yeah, they're
this is-
wonderful.
this
They
is-
have a greenhouse there.
This is a community organization that we want to support, and it's been a great partnership for us.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but all the money that we raise goes back into the community, unless we're doing something for an international event, and we always specify. So usually the trivia night goes to scholarships for Schenectady kids.
Now, you had a clock up there. What was the clock?
Oh,
That- I
the
mean,
clock. Well, the Rotary last year gave a clock to the city of Schenectady.
Okay.
And this clock is going to be on the walkway between downtown and the harbor. They're doing that
Oh,
walkway.
yeah.
And so it's going to be in a little decorative area, but it also, it's just sort of we like to do things that they're lasting.
The harbor is really, I just had someone on the aquatic center they're wanting to
Yeah.
put there, and I heard the costumer is moving into the harbor area.
So it's a booming area, but the city wants to develop, walking path along from downtown to there.
Yeah, we want to walk.
Yeah. So in addition, we're looking for some new projects. One of the big added emphasis for Rotary this year is the environment. So we're looking for a local environmental project.
Okay.
And so we've examined a couple, but if anybody has any good ideas for those, they can.
When you say an environmental product, are you saying like clean up the creek, or, I don't know what you mean
We
by
do
that.
some cleanups already. We clean up Vale Park several
Okay.
times a year, and we have done some other neighborhood cleanups, but we'd like to do something environmentally that's a little bit more lasting. So maybe planting trees.
Oh, okay.
Or something that has a permanent effect on the environment.
Like a beautification, and, because when you plant a tree, you get lots of benefits from that.
Sure.
You get more birds in the area, and you get more,
Well, young trees in the first 10 years of their life do a great deal of carbon sequestration.
yeah, exactly.
So that's an important thing, but we haven't really decided yet. So we're open. If somebody has an environmental project that they're interested in, you should give us a call.
Yeah, and I like the idea of planting trees. It's so important to plant trees, for many reasons. We seem to not think about trees as being as important as they are, and they have no qualms about tearing them down sometimes, which makes me really upset.
Well, the other thing is Schenectady, we're looking for partners. We often do things in collaboration with other groups.
Okay.
And so if, like working with ARC or ringing the bell for Salvation Army or working with Schenectady, what is it now, SUNY Schenectady?
Oh, yeah.
To provide scholarships
Yeah.
there, which we do in addition. If
So it's not
there's
only
an
high s-
environmental group that would like to partner with the Rotary, we'd love that because you get that synergy from those partnerships.
And there is, wasn't it CLEAR, CLEAR, which is an environmental group in Schenectady? I
Well,
think
there's also Trees Schenectady, that's
Okay.
one of the others we're looking at, so, but we're open for,
Yeah, the important thing is that so how do you join the Rotary?
well, it's pretty easy, you just ask.
Okay.
You contact the Rotary.
Are you looking for members, or
Sure.
you
Would
got
you like
so
to-
many you
would
don't
you
know
like
what to
to
do with
join?
them?
So, no, usually a member will nominate you, but if someone's interested, they just email our site and we'll have a member get in touch with you. We meet Thursdays. When we used to meet in person, it was at noon at the Stockade Inn.
Okay.
And we're hoping to go back to at least hybrid meetings in July. Right now, we've been meeting by Zoom, and that's been real interesting because we've been able to get speakers from far and wide.
I know, see, we've created a new, something new that we had
Yeah.
never had before.
Now we have people who regularly attend from Germany. We had a speaker who was an environmentalist and a marine biologist from France speak. We had a person from Texas who was in the Oklahoma City bombing. He was a survivor of the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah.
So we've had lots of interesting speakers to come to us through Zoom, but you're always welcome to come try a meeting. If you go online, you can get our address at SchenectadyRotary.org, and we'll send you a Zoom link. We'd love to have you.
What's the obligation? Because most people say, well, what do I have to do? If I join something, I really want to help them, but how much time do I have to? So give us an idea of what would a typical Rotarian do?
Well, I don't know that we have so many diverse Rotarians that do different things, but we generally meet once a week, and there's good fellowship. It's usually
You network.
Yeah, we network. We have opportunities for community service. Like someone will say, "We're doing a neighborhood cleanup. Anybody want to volunteer?"
Oh, okay.
And people sign up and do that. Some people, that's not their cup of tea. We did, during the holidays, we did part of that holiday drive-through. We made a float that people, instead of a parade, people drove past it. And so that was a lot of fun. So we do, in the holidays, we also volunteer to ring the bell for Salvation Army.
Okay.
We work with the Steinmetz Academy at Schenectady High, the Career Academy.
Yeah, that's when they have the
And so we provide
culinary, and they
we-
have the,
We
yeah.
provide mentors to those students.
Okay,
We
great.
also provide clothing so they can dress more professionally.
When they go for a job.
Yes,
We were just
for
talking
an
about
interview,
that, yeah.
Same thing, but both male and female, but this is mainly for high school. So, if a Rotarian sees a project they want to be involved in and comes to us, we usually help them out.
Yeah, in other words, you're open to new ideas and new projects.
But it's about community service and fellowship.
What drew you to it?
Well,
Because now you're president, so you must have,
Well-
you rose to the top.
actually, the first two things I did when I moved to Schenectady to help revitalize the museum in Demisai was I came on your show.
Yep.
And the second one was I joined Rotary.
I think
But
you were on the most times. I think I counted 30 some odd times when you.
I joined Rotary, and I joined Rotary for a selfish reason. I wanted to get to know the community.
Yeah.
And Rotary is such a diverse group, and it has professionals and retired people from all walks of life and lots of information, and it's a great network.
No age group
No.
it's kind of open to the entire community.
Yes, And so it was a great network,
Yeah.
and it's one I still enjoy today.
Do you run into the same problem that most organizations are running into, is that it's difficult sometimes to get people to join? Because people, it seems, young people, I'm not saying older people, but
Right.
younger people seem to not want to join.
We're having greater success with young people, but that's one of our imperatives this year is to have more young people and to be
Yeah.
more diverse as
Because
well.
it seems to be, they pick and choose what they want to do. They don't want to really be tied down.
Well, we
so.
want to make this, enjoyable to them, and Rotary, there are lots of Rotary clubs in the district, in the local district.
Yeah, I know there is,
So
yeah.
there's some that meet in the morning, there's some that meet at lunch, there's one that meets online. So
So you've got a lot of
So even if
choices.
you don't want to join my Rotary Club, which meets Thursday at noon.
For a nice lunch, right?
We would like to get you into a club.
Yeah, good. Well, so people can go to your website, which is SchenectadyRotary.org.
That's right.
And find out a little bit more about the organization, and they can join online, or
They can.
Or they have to-
They can send us
application?
we'll send them an application if they just tell us they're interested.
Okay, good. So,
And I suggest that if they're interested, they should come to one of our Zoom meetings and see.
and see how they like it. Good. Yeah, it's a great idea. But right now, we want to tell people, if you want to have some fun, go to Frog Alley on
Yes.
June
The 10th
10th.
at 6 PM.
And then-
But you want to sign up.
You got to
You
sign
want-
up,
and-
and it's $30 a person, but it's all going to a good cause.
Or you could have a team of 4
Okay.
for $100.
That's
And if you're a
good.
single person and you just want a trivia, if you want us to match you to another group of
Team.
people, or if you want to stay at home and do this online,
Okay.
the hybrid way, we can do that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun evening, and, you know, we're all looking for fun things to do, whether it's online or in person.
Right.
And of course, if you've been watching the show, you've seen some people with masks and without. If they've had their 2 shots, we're following CDC guidelines, and they can go without their mask. If not, masks are fashionable now, right?
Well, I wear mine out in public just so I won't scare anybody,
Oh, okay.
but
No,
I have
no,
had
don't
my
think
2
you-
shots. Yeah.
I want to tell you that we've got a great lineup coming up next week. Well, not next week, it's going to be on June the 2nd. We're going to be having the Capital Region Premier, Patrick White, will be on to talk about death tax. What a title that is. The Downtown Schenectady Improvement Corporation will be on, and they're going to be talking about Art Week, which is going to be fabulous here in Schenectady. And then we go over to Howe's Cave, and we are going to be talking to a representative from the Iroquois Indian Museum. And they have an exhibition coming up called Identity Identify Exhibition. So that will be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be talking about Juneteenth as well coming up. That will be on June the 19th, and we'll have 3 representatives, including Walter Simpkins, who will be talking about the Vale Cemetery. And then the Proctors Collaborative will be on, and so will the Universal Preservation Hall up in Saratoga. So we are indeed Schenectady, even though we're located in Schenectady doing the show, we're the Capital Region Today show. And we do hope that you'll join us every week for a great show. You can find us on YouTube at Schenectady Capital Region, let me start over again, Capital Region Today Official. That's our YouTube channel. And we also have a website too. So please join us, and I will see you again. Stay safe.
Oh, yeah, stop.
I think we're a touch short.